Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Realnesss with 3 S's. I'm here with my gorgeous co-host. Up on top with me, we have...
Gorgeous, huh? Just call me gorgeous. Jonathan Oliveira, hello.
And we have the latest evictee. We have Nick Robers. Nick, say hello.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
Nick, my heart is broken. I mean, we knew that you had to win that last one to have a chance when it wasn't Lindsay, the other person. Mm-hmm. So we knew it was an all or nothing thing, but I was really hoping that maybe you could have convinced Brazil to get you to go to the end.
I was trying. I think she can attest to that. I was working her for like 8 hours straight, and then she went to sleep because she had to go to work, and then I worked on her for a few more hours, and then it was like, I've cast my vote. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll stop. And then we just talked about normal life after that. That's all I needed to hear, really.
So there was nothing you could do?
I think I had a pretty successful pitch, but when I knew it was done was when she basically said, like, I hear you, these are all good points. Yes, I agree with a lot of them. I just got to go with my gut here. And I was like, oh, right, when you say the gut, it's like it's done. But I kept trying because I don't give up. And then I spelled out how I thought the votes were going to go, what they're going to say. I said what I'm going to even answer to certain questions to make her or Lindsay or whoever I was going to be sitting next to look good, because I didn't like how the jury was portraying us three, and mostly how like I was here and they were there, because it was fully even efforts on all of our parts. So I was just trying to like pitch to her how like it's going to be super fans at the end who both deserve to be there and all these things. And I'm like, okay, like Lindsay's a good pick too. I couldn't say anything bad about Lindsay except that she's going to win, or that I feel she's going to win.
And also that she's not here. And like, I don't know, if the winner is announced and they're not here, that kind of sucks too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she's on the road again. She's driving back from her camping trip now. So I think it was for the final pleas and stuff. She wasn't in real time like other like Brazil, or I would have been, kind of thing. She mentioned that as being a factor in taking me out and not taking me there as well. So yeah, she had all of her reasons. I don't blame her. I think I had a really good shot of winning, and that's, hey, she made it. She made the choice. Do you
think that she is going to win against Lindsay at this point? Like, you talked to the jury a little bit now.
Before, when I was telling her, I was like, you're going to lose against Lindsay. You might win against me. I still thought I was going to beat her in the end. I was telling her a lot of reasons why Lindsay will win, and I just kept convincing her of that. And I believed almost all of them, because they all have merit, but I don't know how the jury will see it. But then I started convincing myself even that like Lindsay would even beat me, or Lindsay would beat Brazil. So I still felt like right when I left, I'm like, no, what I've said has been true, and it's going to go that way. And they answered questions really well. Both of them handled the questions extremely well. So I was like, oh shit, it's a lot closer than maybe I thought. And I knew they would both be able to do that. I just also know my capabilities and my ability to answer questions well. And Brazil's final thing basically was like, forget her wording. It made me laugh. It was like, Nick, you're a fucking wizard, and you know that you would take me out behind a barn and slaughter me with any kind of like question answer segment. So I have to get rid of you. And I was like, okay, like I get it. I said, as long as this isn't because of a promise you made week X or day X, and it's just like you feel like you just need to do this out of obligation. I'm like, do you honestly think you can beat Lindsay in the final two? And she said, yes. I said, okay, then I'll say no more. Like that's what the person making the choice has to decide. And she said yes. So I let it go.
I don't think there was anything that you could have done, outside of just winning is what it came down to, the competitions. But I mean, it's the most logical choice for her to take Lindsay with her instead of you, just because I don't think she would have won against you. I don't know that she'll win against Lindsay, but I think with Lindsay she has a chance. But I don't think, I mean, unless you could have, there could have been some like disillusion kind of, I don't know what you could have done to Brazil to convince her otherwise, but I mean, it was pretty obvious, I think. So I was really rooting for you, hoping that you were going to win that last competition there, or at least Lindsay was going to win that second part. So it was just the two of you, which I thought was actually going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I was like, great. And then you'll each take each other. Won't be an issue.
Yeah.
I'll win the game. I mean,
buy you some calamari or something with it.
Oh my God, you don't even get a gift certificate, Nick? Ugh.
Shut up.
Ugh.
But yeah, I appealed to like Brazil's very similar to me. And I think that's why we get along so well. Is that like we have this logical brain. It's like, okay, this like unshakable. And Lindsay's a lot the same way. And I just said, look, these are the 7 people that are going to be on jury. This person said this in Reality Realness. This person we both know is going to vote this way. And I spelled it out for every single juror. And I said, Lindsay's going to be a 5-2 win. I'm going to beat you 4-3. I said that. But I'm like, it just takes you 1 vote to swap, and then you beat me 4-3. And I think that can happen because I was counting Kat voting for me. And I'm like, you never know what Kat will think to vote for Brazil in the end. And I still don't know what a lot of the jury is actually going to vote after that Q&A. But in that moment, I wanted her to feel that the jury was so locked in and so bitter and so one-dimensional that
maybe
what I was saying is fact. And I think I did a good job of it. And she started doubting it. And she could have been playing along with it. But I said right before, like I already knew the vote had been cast was done. I said, at any point, did you, like right when you won HOH, did you always just be like, oh no, Nick's gone, done. It's like not even going to like, I'll hear him out of decency, but I'll consider it. She's like, no, I honestly tossed around with it a lot. And I was like, okay, like I respect that. And that's good. Because even if I would have won HOH, like 99% of me was taking Lindsay, but there was 1% that was still open-minded. And I was like, sell me on this. And like, I would never shut someone out completely.
I think that might have been a factor though, that she knew that you wouldn't be taking her no matter what. And so that might have been also a factor as to why she didn't take you. Because like, you couldn't be like, hey, like it's us like competing here. Let's just take each other, when she knew that you wouldn't take her. So I wouldn't be surprised at that.
Well, I said that to her. I said it to her before she knew she won, or I'm trying to remember the timing of it. But basically, like, hey, look, let's call it what it is. Lindsay knows we're both taking her. We're the only 2 people who can change that narrative if we want to. And wouldn't it be awesome if the 2 people had very similar games, super fans of the game, went to the end together and duked it out and had this like bloodbath of words, because I think we're both really articulate and precise with what we want to say as far as how well our games went. And she I think she liked that idea, but she was also scared of it. And she told me, she's like, if I get there and I win, I want to beat the best, and I want to win. Win against the best. So my question to her was, is you taking Lindsay who you feel is beating the best, or did you specifically not take me because you think I'm the best? And because she did say, she's like, Lindsay being gone this weekend is kind of appealing to sit next to in final 2. And I was like, okay, I mean, like that's not going to get my vote, that argument. So I'm like, I was like, you could wow me here, kind of thing. So, but they crushed this game, and I know firsthand every move they made, especially since jury. Brazil shocked me a lot with the early game. Her early games, she said people thought of her as a floater, and that's what she wanted, and I did at some point. But I always knew that her and I were very similar and could get along like no effort, kind of thing. So I knew I wanted to work with her, but we both said it. Again, like this week, and then weeks ago, I said I couldn't tell you everything that I wanted to, because I thought there was a chance you would go running to Ryan and Kat and tell them. And they were always my like front deals. Like every time I talked to them, I liked them as people. I was working with them in the game, but I was like, no, you guys are like 8th, 9th, or like when it's time kind of thing. I was never like, I'm gonna go to the end with you guys. But with Brazil, I wanted to have more of those vibes, but I was like, she's gonna tell them right away. And she said, oh my God, that's what I thought of you this whole game. Like, as the one slip up to Nick and he'll ruin your game. And I was like, that's the same thing I thought with Brazil. But we always kept that open communication, so it was so seamless when Lindsay brought us together at jury.
If she brought you to the final 2, whose votes do you think that you would have had? I'm curious.
I feel I would have had Kat's, Lindsay, Marcin, and I told her she had Curtis's no matter what, but part of the back of my head, I was always counting Curtis as a potential for me. And reading the jury chat, it's kind of been, I think I was right in assuming that it could very well be me. And Ryan, I said to her, I'm like, Ryan specifically told me, and I think he told you, he will tank your game. He will tank my game and not vote for it. And I don't think he said those same things to Lindsay. I'm like, I never heard her say that to me, but Brazil and I talked about it. And I never thought I would get Brenda, but I would really try to appeal to her, like our relationship throughout the game because I was always very loyal to her. And I think Brazil was more kind of loyal to her throughout the game. So I think I could have worked on Brazil as well. CJ, I said was a flip of a coin. I said she was a lock for Curtis and she was a lock for Brenda because Brenda said she wanted Lindsay to win in your reality realness with her, and she wanted a girl to win. She said those two things like in that order. So I was like, well, I'm a guy, and I think CJ is going to feel the same way. So I'm like, you already got Brenda, CJ, and Curtis. You just need one more, and I think I could have had the other four.
So it seems like Brenda's still kind of upset. I can't really tell what's going on with her. Could you maybe sense what's happening, like once you got into the jury?
Upset. I didn't read through all that. There's pages and pages. I couldn't even scroll. I scrolled back for like a full minute, and I was on like last week still. Like it was. I just gave up. I asked, should I read anything?
Even with what when I just watched the jury roundtable, like they all wanted you to come out next. So like she seemed like she was mad at you, and Curtis still seemed like he was mad at you and wanted you to come out next. So can you maybe shed some light as to why it hasn't been resolved a little bit, and has it now?
For those two specifically, I can only guess here. Maybe because I was saying like I was dead loyal to them to the end, dead loyal. Like, and I was more loyal to MNBC than I was Lindsay up until Ryan went home and I found out about Curtis and Brenda. Essentially, yeah, when they both were playing me all along, I felt no remorse in getting rid of them back to back. And so maybe they're mad that I just cut them so quickly. But I was like, as soon as you break loyal to me in a game like this, you're dead. There's no coming back from it. And Lindsay never ever did, and Brazil barely did, but never was able to follow through with it. It was like on my HOH at week 6, she was going, or when there was 6 left, she was going to use the veto and take out Marcin with whoever she pulled off the block, Kat or CJ, and that would have made me. I would have lied and said it didn't bother, whatever, he's gone next. But like it would have been the exact same thing like I did with Curtis. I would make him feel super safe. It didn't really bother me, whatever, as long as it's not me. And then just like Brazil would have been dead.
So there could be a gazillion ways that this game could play out. And so we know this particular timeline. Do you think that there was another opportunity for you to pivot in a different direction that might have changed the outcome of this game and be in your favor?
I think every decision I made was very favorable to my game. I've looked back and like, oh, if only I would have, like, okay, hindsight now, like Brazil won HOH and didn't take me. I could have taken her out at top 5 when I could have force vetoed her and cast the vote, and Marcin and I could have taken her out at top 5. It never crossed my mind. She could have done the same to Lindsay a couple times. I think they could have done it once to me. Either way, us three we never wanted to break it, because if us three can guarantee each other that we make it to the final 3, 2 of us are in the top 2 and 1 of us wins. Those are pretty good odds to have since there's 9 people left. And the only way we sabotage that is if we implode internally, like many alliances did this game. So changing the course of the game, sure. If I knew now, if someone told me Brazil would win final HOH, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take her at 5th. Like I could think that way. But no, I think I made I made every decision perfectly, but everything went perfectly for me to get to exactly where I needed to be. I just answered a few questions wrong in the last part, and that, like, my end game was to win final HOH. I had faith in myself. I have like 50 pages of notes, not that many. I have a lot of pages of notes, highlighted, system, everything. I've had full faith in myself to get myself to final 2, just like Brazil, and of course it came down to that, and she got me on the question, so kudos.
Jonathan was chirping you a little bit, saying that what's wrong with these guys? I got them all right. So once you heard
I usually don't play along, but I played along to this one and I did get them all right. So I think there was, and I think you brought this up, Nick, a little bit, like how there was 1 or 2 that was, or something was changed or something along those lines. But
yeah,
I just could sense, and maybe it's just because I feel like I know Andrew, I don't know, but I could just sense the way they were going, and yeah. So it wasn't obvious to me, but some were, and some were a lot more difficult, but I could just kind of tell where they were going, I feel like. But
so I nerded out hard on part 3. I watched all season 1, 2, and 3. I rewatched the questions. I studied Andrew's decoy answers. I wrote notes on kind of things he uses. He uses like thrown under the bus, stab you in the back, and they all those kinds of things came out on Andrew's decoy answers because he knows the game really well, and not a lot of his house guests who might use those same terms. So I was watching out for those. I didn't see a ton of them. I knew Ryan's right away was the Lindsay Marson. Why would he ever blame getting a promotion? He never said that once as being a detriment to him, that I remember. Next was Brenda's. She was really hard on herself all throughout the game before, even just in MMBC, and like I think she felt embarrassed a lot about how things went down. So at the end, I was like, I think when she looks back at this whole season, which she's been doing in jury up until this question was asked, she's going to be most disappointed in herself. And she's a very reasonable, normal, good person. So I was like, okay, I don't think she actually has that much of a hate on for Curtis so much to answer it even at a question after this much reflection. And then that one just blew me away because I think I was talking to her a lot when she quit the game still in that 24-hour period. And I was like begging her to come back, saying, don't go out like this. Like, this is not what you want. And like, trust me, just come back in. And she did work back and got back in the game and had this fight, and she campaigned like crazy. So no, that's the Brenda I knew. So that little lapse, I thought she would look back with that same clarity and be like, that's who let her down the most. So I picked that. And then with Kat, I picked the Arby's thing. I mean, whatever, we talked about it a bit, but she always told me how cute or adorable she thought I was. So I was like, okay, I think that's the answer. Curtis's was the thing that shocked me the most. And I was like, he wasn't shocked when we evicted him. He understood in his realness talk. He's like, yeah, I screwed him over. I tried to just go on, play the loyalty card. I tried to just keep rolling with it and like hope that they were in the dark about it. So like when we did it, I didn't think of it as a big shock. It was maybe like unexpected, but the shocking thing I think was like, how could this human I've never met before come at me so hard and hate me so much? Like, that's what I thought was shocking. So I picked that because I think Curtis is very methodical in his games and in his brain. And he's like, okay, well, this makes sense. This is how the game was going to go. It was win or lose at that point for me. So Brenda would be the shocking thing. Then with CJ's, I didn't know, but the use of like, oh yeah, what an egotistical prick. Like I didn't talk to CJ a ton, but every time she spoke, it didn't sound that like scripted, or it sounded a bit like a line kind of thing, as opposed to, it sounded made up is what I'm trying to say. So I picked the other one because I'm like, they are drivers. Lisa was really annoying at the start, and CJ could be really annoyed with that in real life since then, because maybe she talks to her about it all the time. I don't know if they live in the same spot or not. So I was like, maybe this is the decoy. And back in a previous season, Andrew even said, joking with a friend who was watching it, like, it's always the answer you don't think it is. It always is. So I was like, I don't think it's this Lisa answer, so I'm going to listen to Andrew's advice and pick the one that I don't think it is. And then with Marson's, I just was like, I read them both. I'm like, they both sound plausible, but there's no way in hell Marson would ever say Rai. He's like, when Rai thought he'd win his topaz, we never talked about it since. He was like, oh man, thank God that idiot. Like, we never even talked about the throwing of the topaz thing. And that might've been something he realized now is funny in jury that I still didn't think was anything that would come out of his mouth. I thought that was more of Andrew's thing because he stressed how much of a mistake that was, or a dumb move, or a funny thing. And he was there when Brenda said Lindt chocolate bananas, and I was like, okay, maybe it's that because it's so goofy. But yeah, honestly, the last one is the main one that I felt misled, just because Rai wouldn't have come out of Marson's mouth, and I got confirmation that it didn't. And Andrew paraphrased, and I was going on direct quotes. So I still would have lost by a few points, but that one I felt misled on for sure.
And Brazil had a back and forth moment there that you had to be. Did that throw you at all? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I was quite upset that day, and I could sense like just a tone like in conversation shift with Brazil, and I think she was just like upset at the situation, but I took it to mean that she was really upset with me because just this thing posted in the chat. I look, and then it's just like this, and then like Brazil being like, Nick, please, remember in Knighted when I let you go back? And I was just like, whoa, let me read these 4 screenshots. I couldn't understand I don't even understand how they got confused with each other from reading it. I read it over once. I said, just let me have a minute with this. I have no idea. But my first inkling is, no, if you submitted, and I saw the words final answer ? And then yeah, that's in what game show does that ever get undone? And I basically just said, like, I don't know. I didn't look at your answers. And I said, I didn't look at your answers. It has nothing to do with it. I just think once you've hit enter, that's basically the same as being in a house and hitting a buzzer and buzzing in A or B. Like, you hit the buzzer and you say your answer and there's no unbuzzing. So I basically said, I don't know if it's right or wrong. I don't know. I didn't compare our answers too much. I don't care. I just think whatever was done, we let fate decide and move on from there. And she said, Brazil said, like, I didn't. I mean, I have a hard time believing the answers didn't influence your decision. I said, you got to believe me. I promise it didn't. I don't even remember what you answered. But then we both agreed we really wish that he hadn't posted her answers at the same time asking my permission to undo something. You can just say there was a discrepancy. An answer wants to be changed. Will you allow it to be undone? I still would have said no, but I was like, the fact that the answers were posted, I think, was what I think made Brazil think that I had a bit more of an insidious kind of agenda with saying no.
Didn't Andrew think at that point that you guys had the same answers? So
our 5s and 6s were different. I remember that. But
Andrew said that they thought you guys are the same score or something like that, and so maybe that's why he posted it, being that like I don't know if it would have made a difference or not. But anyways, I do agree though he should have maybe withheld that. If he's asking you to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to win something or not, and if it's going to be affected by this one thing that you are allowing her to do, I don't think that it would have been the right move for you to let her change it just because she did lock in final answer. Oh shoot, I made the wrong mistake. But, well, final answer is final answer. 10-4 is 10-4. Like all these things, that the rules that we've been playing this game by, I think that she'd have to live with that one.
I see what you mean, and I see why she would want it changed, just because if she did end up losing and it was because of one question where her gut said something and she typed something differently and wasn't able to change it before or wasn't able to go undo it and really submit a test she was proud of, kind of thing, that would suck to hear. But I think that's also part of the game, is like, you have this 5-minute time period. You have to study and read the questions and come up with the answers and critically think about them before you hit enter. And it all has to be done in 5 minutes. That was the nature of the challenge. And there's the player A versus player B. Maybe one won't panic, one will, and that's part of the challenge. So,
and with the fluctuation going back and forth, like, that's going to be outside of the 5 minutes.
Yeah, so, and if anything, outside of me and my own test that I've already done, like, it's a completely isolated. They're isolated situations. The knighted thing, like, oh well, Nick went back a move and knighted or something. I'm like, sure, I typed in the wrong number. I didn't see the best optimal, but like, I still had it. Didn't change it as much, and it was all of us in a time where the vote thing would matter, because we were all playing the same thing at once as opposed to 2 separate tests. But in the end, I spilled some beans that I was going to save for my final 2 speech had I made it there. But I said, I produce and host and run my own Big Brother. I've done 3 seasons of it, and I am the Julie Chen or the Arissa, whatever, and I make these tough calls, and I've told people yes and no. And I was like, my initial gut, boom, you don't do it. You can't change it. And I told her that, and I sent her links to the YouTube videos and all these things. And I think it helped prove my point that I wasn't just trying to be a crappy person, final 3, trying to squeak out a win somehow. It was like, no, this is the decision I would have made, even as an outsider looking in. I'm like, no, once you do it, it's this. And Andrew agreed, and he apologized. And it was probably the worst part of this game, is that moment for me.
I think it's a little bit unfair that, they're asking you in that moment as well. You know what I mean? I think that it might have been a call that should have been just taken on by Andrew.
Agreed. And
showing you the results, or her tests.
Yeah. And even, like I said, I went back and rewatched all the late game of all the other seasons. And I remember in season 2, I think, where an HOH was crowned who didn't even submit anything, because it was like just mob mentality, voting for some guy to get it. And then they all demanded that it gets redone. And then the guy wanted to rescind his HOH. And there's just like this kerfuffle. And Andrew was like visibly angry in the video, saying he's allowing it, but he's like, and in the future, no one questions it. What I say goes. And he had like this, and I was really shocked to see that he kind of like caved and went back on it. And I think it'll be a learning experience, and I'm not grumpy now. That question didn't matter in the end, and like in hindsight, it's fine. But I also just said, whether I was switching her wrong answer to right or her right answer to wrong by saying no, that's just the reality it was even before this was brought up to me as a potential. So let's just keep it at that. Because I couldn't forgive myself if I said yes or no. I didn't want to even be asked. Like, yeah.
Yeah, awkward. It's like, because like then whatever happens, it's like your fault.
Yeah,
and
I know. I couldn't live with myself if I said yes or no and it did this and yeah, I was just like, just pretend this never happened, and the only way to pretend it never happened is if it doesn't change. So
how noble. I would have done whatever I needed to do to win, is what I would have done. I'd been like looking at those answers. I'm like, is that right? Is that different from mine?
I think that would have, like, if I did make it to final two, they'd be like, wow, what a dick Nick is. I'm not going to vote for him. And like,
yeah, I want to win. So there you go.
I'm saying that would have been counter to that
yeah.
strategy to win. It might have been.
Yeah.
Because my whole thing was I was going to talk about how honest I am and how loyal I am. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a snake at the end with the, yeah.
So we have this fan favorite thing going on. Voting's closed. It's done. It will be announced tomorrow. Just curious who you think is up there. Who do you think it's between potentially? Who do you think might have won?
Fan favorite.
Yeah.
I don't know the reach of this, kind of like who's going to be looking at this kind of thing. So, I mean, Ryan has Twitter things. I'm sure he's posting it to get exposure. And if it's literally just like an American Idol vote-in thing, I think Ryan has a strong contender. Yeah. And he also was pivotal in this season. So I think Ryan.
He's posted in a few areas, but mainly it was posted in the Big Brother Cheesecake Facebook group. And I think the only ones were Ryan that I know of, Ryan and Brenda, who shared it in other places.
Okay.
But
I think Ryan has an easy chance at winning it. I think he was very pivotal in this season, and he was very like memorable. I think if you look back on Cheesecake season 4, you'll think of Ryan being on it because of his past encounters with Big Brother, but also just how vocal he was, and he was always in every episode being talked about or talking about someone. And I think people want to see that in a game like this, where you're not able to see it happen or meet the people, but you're just watching Andrew in his videos. I think Ryan would be favored
to the jury chat. So
who did you vote for?
Who did I vote for? Am I allowed to say right now?
Yeah, it's
I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to. I want it to be revealed just like everyone else's at the same time, I think. I can text you later if you want.
Sure. Well, I don't think most people know, but like I had to convince Nick to play this game. It took a lot of coercing and just do it. So now that it's all said and done, obviously we were hoping that you would take a crown from me. But you did last pretty much as long as you could go in this game. I think you're like a day or two shy from the whole thing. How was it in the end?
It was good. It was, like everyone said, way more time consuming than I thought it was going to be. He got some really good people for this season as well. I remember talking to you about your season and saying, like, yeah, some people don't know what's going on, or they're not even there. And in other seasons, people quit. And I was like, okay, so the first few rounds are going to be easy with people, it's like with no idea of what's happening. But like this season had a lot of really fierce, good people, and that's what I want to be around with, like playing the game with. He put a lot of work into the challenges, like especially on the design and a lot of the screenshots he would share, and yeah, the live comps were good. Like it was very it was way more personal than I thought it was going to be. I didn't.
You guys got the
sorry.
You got the wheel, the little spin wheel. Great.
But yeah, like I said, I run my own, and I have people in a house, and I do all these, and I'm just like, wow, this is real. This feels so real. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to feel like that. It's going to feel real in its own way, but not in like the real show kind of way. But I'm like, no, it fully did. And I think a big part of it was also you, like Realnesss, doing this, because I think the viewers got more what they want, and I think you'll actually get more viewers out of it too. So I was excited to be playing more. Because you guys were even more excited to be watching it and seeing what's happening. I was like, well, fuck, this is real. Like, yeah, it was good. Felt like I was in the Hunger Games or something, you know?
I mean, yeah, surprisingly, there was a lot. In the beginning, we were kind of like, what are we going to talk about? Like, I'm like, Andrew, what can I talk about? And like, obviously, we didn't want to tank anybody's games or anything like that. We were trying to do the best to be impartial and, just asking questions and kind of, just enjoying it. And I was really impressed and surprised about the amount of footage that we actually got to talk about. Like, there was a way more than I thought was going to be going on. So that could be because of the season, for sure.
All Stars, would you do it?
No, I don't think so. No, because I heard it's in October, and I think it's just way too soon. And like, my boyfriend's just like, he's like, please don't. Like, I can't. He was playing along. He loves these people that he's met through this game, and like just my journey through it. But he was like, oh, I don't know if I can deal with another season of this so soon, because he thinks or knows I'll make it far again, and I'll be as into it again the same way. And I'm just like, I don't know.
Too soon.
It's too much too soon, for sure. But it's long too. But it was like, I loved it for what it was, though, for sure.
And it would go through Christmas, is what I was told. Yeah.
Andrew wouldn't even ask me anyways.
You don't think he would?
No, I'm kidding. I think he totally would.
Yes,
Being a shit.
the 4 would be asked. The top 4 of this season that would be asked into All Stars next season. And I think he said it's starting a little bit later. It normally starts in October, but I think he's going to go in November and then go into January is what his plan is.
He said it was going to be dependent on when Big Brother US season 22 finishes. He doesn't want to have them overlapped. And so if you're doing that now until like September, October, he'd probably want to do it just a little bit after. So it's obviously going to be dependent on that.
So he asks the winner, so whoever that may be.
He always asks the winner?
Always, the winner always gets an invite. So and so it's going to be Lindsay. And then probably Brazil as well.
Yeah, I think they both have an easy resume to apply for the job if they want it. And I know even Brazil mentioned, she's like, I want to work with you in All Stars. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to tell her I don't want to do All Stars yet, because I want her to keep me. Like, this was all before I was voted out too. I was like, yeah, final 2. No, I was like, I'm not going to do All Stars. But the I think Curtis could easily be a contender for that. I think Ryan for sure. I think Kat. I think
he does base it on numbers as well.
Yeah, he likes numbers a lot. I don't care about the comp wins as much, but I think Megan. I think Megan should be asked. Like, I only learned about Megan's game mostly after she got voted out. Like, we were always talking and working together, and I didn't want Megan to go when she went. I would not have voted for either of them, and that was never the plan. And then Lindsay sends me, he's like, yeah, here's a link to the Google Doc of all these things. It's like tabs and just every fact in the game. And like, yeah, Megan really started all this. I was like, holy shit. Like, Megan is insane. So I think, oh, sorry if I just ruined your game, Megan. She could easily come back and do a number in this game. And I think she would be an awesome ally to have too.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that those are pretty strong people to have come back. Funny enough, other than Marcin, I don't know if you even mentioned Marcin, but no bus drivers. No bus drivers are should be invited to All Stars. How do you think about the bus drivers in general?
I've heard about I heard about the bus drivers on your season, and just I've heard about the bus driver curse kind of thing, and they were good, but I feel like they were one-dimensional in their strategy for the first 3 weeks, and then they tried, like CJ most notably, tried to make something happen with Brandon and Ashley and Lynn and try and work with and like get the secret society thing going. I don't know who started it, but Marcin was great. So I think Marcin was a very good house guest, despite being a driver, or because he was a driver. I don't know, but I think being a driver really helped him, because he was unquestionably just in their chats and sending me a million screenshots and all the information I ever needed to know about, okay, yeah, these people are, I can write them off as ever being allies, because they're so together that I was just like.
So yeah. Marcin was the mole, is what you're saying.
Well, Marcin was 100% the double agent and the mole, and like he was vital to the game playing out the way it did, I feel. And I honestly, right when Ryan went and told me about him knowing about MMDC, I immediately was just like, oh, Marcin, Curtis dead, because I was like, Marcin and Curtis are way closer than me and Marcin or me and Curtis. I just always assumed that. so I was just like, okay, obviously Marcin knew, and he had to I don't think he really, I pressured it. I didn't want to spook him, but he convinced me that he honestly didn't know, and he was just as annoyed at Curtis and Brenda, lesser extent Brenda, because we always kind of, towards that point in the game, we didn't really trust her anyways, and she was throwing comps when we gave her everything that could win it, and I was already kind of like weirded out by that one vote against Jack or CJ. Like I was like, why did you do that? I don't know. I was already a little bit fishy with Brenda, but with Marcin, I was super suspect that he knew the whole time too. So he ended up not knowing. So he was pivotal in the game for me too.
Brazil did message me last night, and she's been super excited binge watching season 2.
Oh yeah, she watched it all yesterday.
Like, oh my God, I see you, Chantele. I see you in there. And so she loves it so far. And she's like, so is there anybody of the house guests that you played with that you would invite onto season 4?
Oh yeah, like most of them for sure. I would like to see them play again, especially since I take 12 strangers, so there will be no one in the house that they know. I think it would be fun for them to even try and play a different game, or I would like to see if they could recreate what they say they are good at, kind of thing. So I'd like to see Ryan get better than 9th. I would love that. I mean, there's only 12 people in my version, but I think he could do it. Brazil, I think she would crush at it, and she seemed super excited. Lindsay's going to watch it, and I would happily invite her. If Marcin wanted to play anytime, Curtis is fairly far. Kat could play anytime she like. Yeah, I want competitive, good sports that want to win and want to play hard, and that's, I already have enough of a resume for each of them to know that I think I could have them play.
Ooh.
I think it'd be fun. I want your opinion on that, honestly, because you're my co-producer on this too, right? So yeah.
Oh, I mean, all these people were great. It just depends on what we're still looking for. I don't remember who's still confirmed or not, but yeah, pretty much all of those people I agree that have played really fun games to watch. Like I want to talk to the final 2 just to hear their version of the game, like because Brazil keeps on being like, I can't wait to tell you everything. I can't wait to tell you everything. So I can't wait for her to tell me everything. Yeah. And I love people that want to play the game, and so it's so good that you got to have that opportunity where there were so many people that were playing, because it's very challenging to play with people that aren't playing.
Yeah,
it's like you don't want to be overplaying and then they get you out. Like I don't know. So yes, I think it's lucky for you that you had a season of players, because it would have been more fun for sure.
Well, 100%. And like even you and I bonded so closely in playing a season together. And I can just like fully tell you, like Brazil and Lindsay are us. Like they're the same as us.
Oh, and I need to give out props, because Andrew didn't call it out, but he said you got 3rd on season 1. But it's like you also won All Stars, so like you just had to avoid that. You know, I guess because he likes his stats of like being 3rd. But you've also been numero uno before, so we don't want to take that away from you.
Thanks.
You have won before.
Yeah.
You all have, I get it, okay? Some of us haven't, but
some of us win and some of us just do podcasts.
Just cause problems. But I want to ask you one question. I know you don't want to give away who you voted for, but I would like to know if you think that the person that you are rooting for, essentially voted for, is going to be the winner, or do you think that the house will probably vote for the other person?
Oh, and pause. When I was asking who you voted for, I meant for fan favorite, not for the game.
Oh, I thought you meant in final 2.
No.
I didn't vote. Yeah. The and it's already closed, right? I honestly forgot about it. So the do I think I voted for the winner? I don't know. I honestly don't. And this is, I think the 3 of us wanted this, is we wanted a final 2 that was going to be drama up until the end. Like, it's not like Kevin Robert Martin versus Karen, where it's like, okay, I don't need to watch the rest of this, but I will, because I've come this far. Like with this one, I think it could go anyway. And I don't know is my answer.
Did you have a favorite competition this season, or a few favorites?
Yeah, I really liked the Knighted competition, because just like the constant updated graphics, and yeah, it was really fun. And then the trivia question element I really liked as well. What else did I like? I didn't like Total Recall. I think it was too blurry, but I like the idea of having to absorb facts and then recall and answer questions like that. But like the execution will be better, I think, in the future. But I want him to keep something like that. Staircase, I have my issues with, but I like the idea of it a lot. Like that final veto is usually the best comp in a season, and yeah, I love the idea of it. But I honestly, I watched the rules an hour in. I'm doing my questions. I'm like, okay, so like because Lindsay Brazil and I were in a chat all day doing that competition together. I was on the phone with Brazil for 5 hours straight doing staircase together up until 11 when we both hit our final guess. And for the first hour and a bit, I was like, okay, so I have to put, I think 8 applies to this and 8 applies to that. So I already did this, so it can't be these two. And I was doing it like a logic puzzle where because I already put it to these two that it has to be, it can't be on the other people. And they're like, Nick, number 8 can only be next to one person's name. Figure out who. I was like, I wasted hours of it because I didn't grasp it because I think that's how it should be. Is like you put 2 facts that apply to each person and you kind of like link them together and make stairs. So like you put the name Marcin and then you put the 2 facts beside him and there, but those 2 facts can only apply to Marcin and you do it like a logic puzzle swap out kind of thing.
Well, it is kind of like that, but it doesn't have it on the other end, I guess, or something. I don't know. It's like it's just rungs as opposed to a chain.
Yeah, there were each number had its X amount of possibilities and they could go any places, and you got to start with the more obvious ones and then, or the ones that are like only one answer. Actually, I don't think any of them were only one answer. But yeah, like then I was just thinking, okay, like right when I lock it in and I know Brandon and Megan had to be 7 and 8, therefore no one else could be 7 8. So I was going through and crossing it out like playing a game of Clue, which is one of my favorite board games. So I would like more of like just pure logic as opposed to the trial and error and guessing kind of thing, because you could even if you got all those questions right, I feel like you'd still have to play around with the numbers until they all fit the right way. I think even if you knew all 32 trivias right.
Well, I don't know, because of the fact that the ones that were the tricky answers is the ones that were correct. You would never be able to get the right combination if you didn't have this person X in this spot, and so you'll never have the proper combination. Some of the other ones might fall into the correct spot, but it'll never be 100% correct if these tricky ones are not used in those places. And so you do have to have all of it correct, and with that proper combination, obviously.
Yeah, but is there if you have all 32 questions perfectly, like you put all the name options out, I think you would still have a few hours of.
You might have to figure out the correct combo,
right?
Like you might put in the right person in that tricky spot if you have that as being a potential answer. So, When you look like you're about to say something, Jonathan.
No, I just have that look on my face.
Is that look wondrous? So, do you have anything else to share, Nick? This is your moment.
Yeah, basically I said it in the jury house. I said it again. I posted it multiple times. Like all season long, there was this. I said it to the girls, and I'll just say it here because I said it. Why not? But there was a bit of a tone of like misogyny kind of going through the house. Of these girls are idiots. They don't know what to do, and they're stupid. And Nick is running everything. And I was still playing the game, so I didn't correct them to make them see why they were so wrong. But I didn't like hearing it because both of them are extremely capable strategists, and I even said it to people. I'm like, they kept me under their wing a lot of the time. The first 3 rounds, they were HOH every time, and I could have touched that block, and I didn't because of them and because of our strong social connection. So don't think of me as this perfect player that steered their games, and they would have been nothing without me. Like it was 33% across the board, all 3 of us, and they crushed it. So I can't wait to see who wins. This is what we wanted. No one wanted person X sitting beside the clear winner, and none of us were going to let that happen. And I think the jury kind of not mocked us, but they kind of like chirped us for that, like that we were just taking that obvious person that should just make it all the way through. And we were just like, no, we want to prove them wrong. This is our season. They were just waiting to see what order they got voted out in, and we're going to play it the way we wanted to. So, yeah. I compared us to an avalanche that couldn't be stopped because literally one of us was head of household every round from top 9. So they couldn't go after us unless we chose that, unless we chose to let them be right. So.
Well, I wonder if it's going to play out this way, because it seems as though you are the JoJo of this season. If you had made it into the final 2 seat, you would have most likely had the win. I feel as though Lindsay is the me. I wasn't really that available the last few, the last few days. And, I was also taken to the end by Alvin, which is what Brazil did. Brazil is a different person than Alvin for sure, but we're just saying.
No, same.
And so you also said that you think that beforehand anyways, that it'd be a 5-2 vote. So that's what I won, was 5-2 as well. So do you think that, having a strong final 3, this is the way it always is going to pan out? And
maybe. I'm just proud that the difference between that is the 3 of us found each other within the game, and we weren't always as close. Like I said, I wasn't as close to Lindsay as I was with MNBC at the start. And I think Brazil was always kind of close with both of us, but never in a let's work together, let's target. She never threw out names about who she wanted to go after, except for just eventually that person's going to be an issue. Where we talk about our votes, but we never targeted people. So I think we found each other and we made it that way, and you guys knew each other and made it that way. But being in a trio is undeniably the best. Yeah, it's such a good strategy to go through with this game. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, sure. You said words.
I said words, but yeah, yeah.
I'm just wondering if it's going to play out the same way, and I'm excited to see, because the statistics. So
yeah. I think I did compare her. I said even to jury, and I said to Brazil, I said the person who got to the end, who with both person taking her no matter what, won the game probably by a lot of votes. And I said, remind you of any season 3 winners? And I said that as my last little attempt. And I think Brazil was honest when she said she didn't know or think she could necessarily beat either of us, but she still just thought Lindsay was the best play. So if it turns out to be that way, it's Brazil did what she thought was right, and that's what is right for Brazil's game, and she was the one making the decision. So it shouldn't be anyone else's game being played out.
For shizzle.
Yeah.
Jonathan, anything else for Nicky Nick?
No. I mean, I think you answered all of our questions, and it'll just be really interesting to see who wins and who takes it home. We find out. When do we find out? When's the
votes are in today? He's probably making the episode, and maybe tomorrow, Tuesday. I forget.
I think Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay, we'll find out soon, and then hopefully we can actually get the final 2 on here too. I would love to speak to them about kind of what went on and all that kind of stuff. So
they'll have a lot to say. It was a lot was done in the game.
It's it actually was a quarantine game. It was basically things started opening up now.
Yeah.
That's pretty good timing, even though he should have listened to me and done it the 5 days beforehand. But no. Well, Nick, it was great chatting with you. We'll see you in the future.
Maybe we'll
see you on All Stars / I don't know if I'm gonna actually play. If the whole Chad Charlene thing, it's just so boring for me. So yeah. That's actually would deter me personally from playing. So
you're gonna leave me with a bunch of people who don't like me, and I'm gonna pick up first, and I'm gonna blame both of you. So that's what's gonna happen.
Their noise is so irritating. It's not what I like to hear. So anyways, but I would obviously love to play with you if we got the chance. Anyways, we'll see what happens in the next few months. But it was great having you on today. Obviously, loved watching your game. I had to downplay how much I was rooting for you. I had to not even pretend I knew you.
So let's talk about Nick's game. Any thoughts, anyone? Just sat there silently.
I know your game pretty well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I had to just allow Jonathan to have him as the pick, have you as his pick. I knew he was going to take you.
Wow.
But obviously, I would have wanted to have you on my team, even though you didn't win it for me.
Chantele was going to take you, so I was like, nope, I'm grabbing him. If she's letting me go first, I'm grabbing him.
But yes.
If anything, Chantel's not been the best at picking teams and these kinds of things. So I felt a lot. I felt a lot of motivation that I wasn't on Chantel's game or on team, that I could do well.
Well, it's because I'm always so kind in allowing other people to have their first picks. I just take the dregs.
You like the long shots.
Exactly.
Better payouts.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Bye. Thanks for having me on. I was looking forward to doing this for months and weeks. So thank you.
I'm sure we'll do a reunion with everybody. We'll get it together. Well, hopefully we can figure it out. Probably minus 2 people, but we'll see what we can do.
Sweet. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh, I am sad. I really was really rooting for him hard. I know I really underplayed it, but I really wanted him to win.
I thought he had it. I kind of in our season when stuff was happening very poorly for me, I feel like I felt it in the air. And I was concerned the last little bit. And then when it was up to Brazil and she won it, I was like, oh, I can see the writing on the wall. But up until that point, I thought it was his to lose, really, the whole season.
Yeah, it definitely was. And it had to do with that final competition and the fact that they were staying 3 strong. He didn't have the highest odds of being taken in the end. He only really had himself or Lindsay. I feel like Lindsay had both of them or herself. So she had just better odds of getting into the final 2 chair. Nick had the same odds, obviously, as Brazil did. And so, actually, no, less. And so she had to take herself there. And I do think that...
Do you think Lindsay would have taken him?
Say again?
Do you think Lindsay would have taken him?
I think she would have taken Nick. Yes, I do think so. Just because they started their departments together, and so like they really work together.
Brazil's been the underdog because she would have had to have taken herself then, which she did.
Yeah, she did.
Which garner some votes.
I do think her stronger shot is against Lindsay because Lindsay's out of town right now, and she can just play up the fact that she maybe had a little bit more of the strategic edge and like the super fan and stuff like that. And so I think that that's going to bode well against Lindsay. Yeah. I would have loved to see the Nick Brazil final 2 because I would want to see them both kind of go head to head, but I still really think that the final 3 was pretty great. And as much as I wanted Nick to win, I'm still happy that it's going to be one of the 2 ladies taking the crown.
Yeah, yay. I know. It's. I think everyone's very deserving. I think Nick played a great game as well. And the final 3, any one of them winning, I'm personally happy with. I don't think you can go wrong with it. So it's a tough vote for those jury members. Yeah,
absolutely. And it seems as though just from watching the roundtable that they're still a little bit salty. You know what I mean? Like I heard that Andrew cut it down a little bit. So was there anything that he left out that was important, you'd say?
I haven't watched today's. I just was paying attention to I think it was just over an hour. And I know that his cut off at 40 minutes and I recorded 40 minutes of footage. So I believe he cut stuff out unless I'm misremembering. They seemed a little bitter to me as well. They seemed like they wanted to talk about themselves in their own game a little bit more than, kind of figuring out, Nick it was the first time seeing Nick in the jury, so that was a big talking point. But then beyond that, it's really about the final 2 and getting their thoughts in regards to that. But they seem to, when expressing that, they seem to really bring up a lot of their own game and how it affected them. And I mean, it's very natural as we see, Big Brother Canada, Big Brother US, there are people who are very bitter, whether they realize it or not. There's people who hold grudges. And then there's other people who completely let that go. So, I mean, and to be fair, as we spoke about this before, I was playing the game right up until the end. I was pretending to be a bitter juror. And I mean, it wasn't the case. It was, I think my final, when I voted, I had a little speech. I'm like, you're both deserving, blah, blah, blah. I was playing this up, just for entertainment purposes, but I wasn't actually bitter at all. So, I mean, they could still be playing the game, and they might be trying to sway some votes one way or the other. I don't really know. But the votes are now locked in, and so a winner will be announced.
I am excited to hear. I just want to know how they end up voting in the end, because especially Kat, it seems I'm like, Kat, are you going to give it to Brazil? Like, she was your girl at a certain point, and like, your relationship was real up until she had to let you go. And so curious as to for sure about Kat's vote. Curious, no, I think Curtis will vote for Brazil. I think that.
Do you think it'll be a 4-3?
Let me think. So Kat, I don't know what Kat's going to do. Okay, so Curtis is going to vote for Brazil, I think. Marcin, Brazil. Ryan, he might feel upset with Brazil for like going against the final five alliance. So I don't know if he's going to be convinced that he should vote for her. Like, he might just vote for Lindsay out of spite. Would he?
It's hard to say. I mean, like you said, Kat is so up in the air, because at one point I'm like, oh, she's pissed off at Brazil. There's no way. But then she might kind of go back to appreciating and understanding what had happened. So, because she talked about, when in her exit interview, she talks about how she didn't understand Brazil's game. I don't know why she would turn on all of her alliance members. So if that's the way that they all think, then there could be a lot of people against Brazil. But I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of people will be supportive of the fact that she was able to do that, pivot when she needed to, and fought her way to the final two. To be honest, I just want to win, so I want it to be Lindsay. But I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be Brazil in a 4-3.
It would be 4-3, being that. So who would it be? Oh my God, why can't I just think of who the people are? So Brenda, you think will vote for Lindsay?
Well, I think Nick's voting for Lindsay, and I think two others. So it would be, I mean, and it's really.
Curtis is going to vote for Brazil.
Just really up in the air.
Kat, Nick. Who else is in the jury? Marcin, I think, would vote for Brazil. It's actually really hard to say. I don't know what Kat and Ryan are going to do.
So hard, yeah.
Because it's pretty much up to them. They're going to make this decision. If they both vote in alignment, I think that they will be the deciders of who is going to win.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Well, I know you want Lindsay. They both can win in my books, but I know you want Lindsay to win so you can win our draft.
The sole fact that she's on my draft picks. That's all. I just want to win.
I almost want to go vote for Brazil so that you don't get that stat.
I know, right? JoJo will win. JoJo always beats me.
I don't know. So anything else happened in these videos in the last couple of days? Not really. We kind of talked through what has been going on. And I guess to come up with the next few days, we can do exit interviews with the winner and the runner-up. We can maybe do that on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah,
and maybe we can, I don't know if we'll be able to get everybody together, but maybe we could do an afterthought for the whole season or something.
It would be nice to see everyone, and I really thought that the jury was going to actually show up. I thought that was pre-planned, that everyone was available for noon on Saturday. If I had known that like half the people were going to be missing, I wouldn't have shown up. But so it'd be nice to have the entire season, if not everyone, the majority confirming. And I'm a casting director, so leave that up to me.
Yes.
I'll get everyone on the same page.
Do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in. Okay, so we'll have that coming up. We'll do our announcement. You'll give your prize for the.
So I've told Andrew the winner. Andrew knows, and he's going to announce it. I think he said Monday.
Monday it is.
So, which is tomorrow. So,
yeah. Oh, whoops! Yay! So I want to see who it is.
We should just wait for let's wait for Andrew to announce the prize amount too. I've told him what it was, but I won't announce it here. We'll just wait.
Okay, suspense. The suspense is in. Okay, this is going to be probably either our third to last or second to last podcast for this season. Wow. I'm impressed with us. We did it.
It's gone by quick, and at the same time has lasted forever.
Lasted forever. This is it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe right down below. Hit that like button if you like this episode. Ring that bell so you can be notified when we have a new episode. I don't know what we're going to be covering next. What are we going to cover next?
Just have to wait and see.
Should we go back and do a rewatch of like season 1 of The Mole?
Oh my god, I love The Mole so much.
A rewatch could be good. Okay. Maybe if you guys have any suggestions of something you'd want to see us go back and rewatch and cover, let us know in the comments below, and we will take it into consideration. Other than that, take care, guys. Bye.